Good evening and welcome to my Letter from the Light Side broadcast on the 2nd of December 2021. Nearly forgot what year it is then. Excuse me. I'm just having a general little cough. clear the pipes well so that the guides and everything can connect in. I'm live on Facebook and I'm live on YouTube, and it's lovely to be able to speak to you on both. And oh, sorry, oh dear. I've got some mischievous guides with me tonight. I think the energy is just about laughing and wanting to make us all laugh, which is lovely because we've entered into kind of a heavy energy period that can be quite stressful for lots of people. And we juggle a lot at this time of year to try to make our season of celebration as popular or as good as we can do. But it doesn't make for a stressful time. Sorry, I've just realised that I was asked to put one of my little pictures up, my fear catchers, and I've just realised it's sort of similar colours to what I'm wearing. Excuse me. That's one of the things that Rafe really wanted to mention tonight is about the start of December, and the running through December is often filled with fears, little fears and big fears. Will it all go well? Will we have a lovely time? Will everybody be happy? Will everybody enjoy themselves? Will I get all the vegetables I need? Will I get all the presents? Well, lots and lots of little anxious notes. And Rafe's just encouraging us to take a step back and a little pause for a moment. We've got a lovely new moon coming in on the 4th of December. A lovely vibration to connect with, to open us up, and to open us up in a way to being without the fear, catching the fear as it's rising and saying, no, actually I don't want to turn my happy time into a miserable time because I'm stressed. As some of you know, I've actually not been 100% myself in the last couple of weeks. I have asthma that gets triggered by cold weather and very rapid changes in weather. So it really wasn't what I wanted, but we seem to have already gone into the cold snap. And eventually, like everything else, I will adjust. And Rafe was smiling all last week as I was like quite miserable about, my chest's not right, and here's Gracie just to say hello. My chest's not right, I'm not feeling right, and I've got things to do, I've got jobs to do. And he just kept saying, people will wait, people will understand. I had to cancel some things, which is not like me because I don't like cancelling anything that's been arranged. Although things do change in my diary. Now we're having Grace's fur. But it was very much, a sense of, oh heck, I've got to cancel, or I've got to change. And there was sort of that sense of maybe a little bit of anxiety creeping in, a little bit of fear creeping in. And the nice thing was my guides sort of kept sending me little messages, kept sort of saying, don't panic, be okay, be okay. And of course it is okay. Everything's worked itself out as it should. But I just want you to think about your last week. Have you been having those little anxieties? Have you been maybe stressing a little bit when everything's actually working out exactly the way it should? Have you been kind of worrying more than you need to? And I think it's very easy at this time to do that. I think it's very easy in a waning mood, actually, to have that energy of worrying and trying to kind of know where you're at and what's happening. And what's lovely is then we click into the new moon and we've suddenly got a fresh burst of energy, a fresh new beginning start going on. And it can make a whole lot of difference to us. We can feel very differently because we're getting into that new energy. So letting the anxiety surface in the last week has been a good way to see what you're still stressing about, where you're maybe not letting the universe have its natural flow, and where perhaps what you're doing is taking the small worries and them ending up being big worries because you've maybe not acknowledged them or not even let them go. I know that we are in challenging times. I absolutely understand that we're all very uncertain. We don't know whether we're hearing the truth. We don't know whether we're getting all the facts. We don't know what's what. And we don't know who to trust. I think that's the big thing for us that's come out of the pandemic. We don't know who to trust other than to try to trust ourselves. And if we're worrying, it makes it harder to kind of go, yeah, I do trust me and I do trust it will be okay. And one of the things Rafe's been working with me this week, especially when I was still feeling a bit wheezy and my chest wasn't brilliant, was to trust that the energy that's around can really help us, not knock us back. Because I did put a little post up asking for healing, and all the healing that came in was fantastic, really fantastic, lovely flow of abundance and love that came with it. And that's the thing to remember, to tackle those little fears and worries and anxieties and to check them out as to how realistic they are. I sometimes have, when I've had a serious sort of asthma event, I've kind of thought to myself, oh, that's it, my chest is gone, I'm never going to be able to breathe properly, what am I going to do, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that? And of course, it's just often something that's there to slow me down. And I do know that Archangel Parashiel, who I work with on his healing, came in to me at one point and said, just apply some healing to yourself. Stop sending everything I'm giving you out to everybody else. Apply it to yourself. And I was thinking afterwards, actually, that's what we all need to do from time to time, is remember, yes, we've given so much out, but we have to take our time to receive. And really, this is a strong energy this week. Have you let yourself receive everything that is there for you? Have you allowed yourself to let people give you things back? To let the universe even give you something back? And I know that I struggle with it, so I'm sure that there are other people who also struggle with letting themselves receive. It's a big lesson, and it's important to think about this as we go into the weekend, because we've got lots of planetary activity going on, and it is important when we are challenged by the astrology or the energy, whatever you want to call it, that what we do is we take the time to receive, to step back and say, now I need something. And Archangel Parashar was lovely, and he just kept giving me all this healing energy. But I had to say, yes, I want it. Remember, if we don't say, yes, I want these good things, then we won't get them. They won't come back to us because we're not asking for them. So sometimes it's about asking the right question, asking yourself, do I really want this? And allowing yourself to have whatever comes back the way it comes back. Yeah. Even though it's an uncertain world, I still try to control it sometimes. when I step out of my intuitive world into the material world, sometimes I go back into, control. Let's try and organise this chaos of life. Let's organise this uncertainty. Let's get rid of as much uncertainty as possible. But of course, the reality is that the uncertainty is still there. I'm just trying to make myself feel better for imposing something on, some order on this sort of turbulent structure. And again, I've had conversations this week with Rafe about, I'm taking so much time and energy to try to organise when actually it's all going to happen in the way it needs to happen. So why am I trying? Why am I urging control when there are bigger energy flows working through and affecting my life? I'm thinking about the eclipse. I am also thinking about the earthquake in Peru. When we're sensitive, intuitively sensitive, we sense the shifts in energy in our Mother Earth. We sense the shifts in energy if there are solar flares. We sense shifts in energy when all the planets shift about. We may not call it that, and we may not necessarily recognise it as such, but we respond to it. And Rafe is very keen that we respond in a loving way by giving ourselves the time and space to process the energy. So I've got Archangel Etheliel hovering here. He just wants to talk about loving ourselves enough to recognise these different energies have the power to affect us quite significantly. I've talked in the past about the way the moon, whether it's a full moon or a new moon, I can have sleeplessness because of the moon phases. When we get solar flares, I know that I get out of balance. It's understanding that when we get lots of turbulent energy being generated, again, we're into kind of the fear factor being talked up, lots and lots of talk about new variants and what ifs and what happens and how with this and how, and that can send a wave of fear around the world through every single person, and we can be affected by those energies. So when you think about where you are at right now, the best way to understand it is to start to recognize when it's not you who is producing the fear or the anxiety or the turbulence, and start to sort out, is it my feeling, is it someone else's feeling? It's important because it then helps us to ride out if you like, to ride out the storm. And Etheliel wants us to love ourselves enough to handle whatever the energy is and to be able to respond to it in a calm and positive way. It's not always easy because the energy has a habit of snapping back at us. Sometimes we kind of find ourselves in a muddle because the energy shifted and it's doing something different, and it's not going as we predicted. So Etheliel's very keen on you taking a pause and recognizing that the best way really is to love yourself enough to let yourself go with the flow. To try to say it will be what it will be, because if you stress, you just make yourself poorly. And part of understanding ourselves is to understand how strong our mind and our intention is, how strong our emotional responses can be, and try to aim for having the response but releasing it, and letting ourselves be kind to ourselves. Telia's really concerned we've got a lack of kindness at the minute. Not just a lack of compassion, but a lack of kindness. It's important to be kind to yourself. It's important to be kind to others. He often talks about kindness costing nothing, but it creates such a loving, powerful flow. Being able to give a smile or a kind word to someone, being kind in the work that you do. I've had to have dealings this week with what I call officialdom. And really, it's whether we, in everything that we can do, can bring in some kindness. But of course, kindness is based on empathy, on understanding that the other person may be affected by things we don't know, and being clear that whatever the response from the other person, it isn't necessarily a personal response. We need to have kindness to understand that maybe they're stressed and overworked. We're stressed and overworked. Being kind to ourselves about that. Being kind about how others are dealing with things. And to remember that we get through things together much easier and better with kindness. And he really wants to stress that loving kindness that flows, that beautiful, compassionate state of recognizing actually we're all in it together. We're all in situations that aren't responding to our control, that try as we might, life just does its own thing, but it does its own thing in the way it's supposed to do. And just be kind enough to ourselves and others to go, well, we've all got it a bit tough at the moment, or we've all got it very tough at the moment, to be truthful, because we aren't used to working with an illness that we can't actually stop. Medical science has sort of built up this perception for us that anything and everything can be cured. And of course, it's difficult when it isn't. It's difficult when we are told, oh, we've got a solution, but that solution isn't that the disease or the illness ends. It's that maybe we're doing a prevention rather than a cure. So we've got a kind of issue of faith and trust going on, where we're dealing with something that isn't responding to our efforts to stop it. And we're doing the same old every single time, not realising that there are other ways we could go around this which would make a difference. So part of loving yourself and being kind to yourself is to understand that we're feeling as a world, every human being is feeling under great pressure, because we've got something that isn't responding to our usual ways of dealing with it. And being kind to yourself allows you then to say, well, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what's for the best. I'll work out what's the best for me, and then try to help others work out what's the best for them. And maybe between us, we can all come to something that shares the kindness. That's what Etelio wants us to do. Share that kindness, share that understanding, be open to, we're trying things and they're not working, so maybe we ought to try different things, try other solutions. It sounds so simple when he says it, and he always makes me laugh when he folds his arms when he's talking sometimes, and it makes me laugh, because I know that he's kind of, oh, humanity, they still haven't got it. They still haven't sorted it out. They're still messing about. They're divided, not united. And the answer will only come when we're actually united. That's the biggest thing of all. So learning to be kind, expressing that kindness, letting yourself feel the kindness for yourself and for others. And going into next week, we've got more turbulence. Whether we like it or not, we've got more turbulence because we're not facing the challenges in a united and positive way. And while ever we're divided and undecided, and not applying kindness and empathy, we're going to end up still doing the same old, same old. We've tackled things the way we've always tackled things and not really realised it doesn't work. It isn't working. And until we think and feel and act differently, the energy won't change. So more turbulence, I'm afraid. More argument, more strife, lots more fear. It's important. Attilio's just really, really keen that you rise above it as best you can. Don't get dragged into the drama of division. You know, I'm just laughing because he said not everybody agrees, and then I'm laughing because certainly, you know, not everybody agrees. Whether it's your family, your friends, your work colleagues, the people in the street, not everybody agrees, and that's a big issue right now. We're not uniting behind the sense of a common approach. We're not uniting behind. I mean, he's just whizzed climate change past me. Exactly the same thing. We're doing the same thing we've always done, making promises and sticking our head in the sand and just not tackling what needs to be done, which is maybe that some or all of us have to give up some of the things we expect or some of the things we assume are our right in order that everybody benefits. He's just shrugged his shoulders. It's the nature of change. It's the nature of building a new world that we go through these difficult times. But the best way we can do that is going through these difficult times with love, with encouragement, with support, and remembering that everybody is feeling the same, whether they admit it or not. Everybody's having a real sense of uncertainty, and that's not what we're used to. We're used to the same old, same old. You know, it's important to be aware that the same old doesn't work, and therefore we've got to be approaching it differently. He brings it in with much love. He's asking on you to call on the archangels and angels throughout the next week when the turbulence is going on. Try to stay steady with the support and love of your guides, the angels and the archangels. Your loved ones in spirit are ever close. At this time of year, they tend to be in very close with us, not only because we've been through a thin time at the end of October, beginning of November, but because this is a time across the world when we celebrate many festivals of light, when we honour the seasons, when we recognise that we need the light as well as the dark, when we honour the traditions of our Mother Earth, and when we recognise and celebrate each other. That's what the festivals are about, celebrating our connections to each other And in the coming week, stay connected. Stay connected to those you love. Think about your loved ones in spirit. Chat to them. They're waiting to tell you their view of things. Just understand the love and support that all of the non-physical beings are beaming in for us right now to help us. We're not 100%. None of us are. We're dealing with stuff. We're dealing with stuff. So we need to be gentle and loving, and above all, kind to ourselves and to each other. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your comments and the sharing that you do, and talking about the Letters from the Light Side. And I love it when I see that you've watched it on catch up. It's really great. So thank you once again. I shall be back next Thursday in full health. I'm still just slightly below par, but in full health and raring to go on bringing in the messages from the guides and inspirers. Take care, everyone. Bye.